Good morning Year 4 and welcome to Tuesday's maths lesson. Now this lesson is going to be for the children who've got the Year 3 booklet. So if you've got this booklet then this video is for you, and today's learning is going to be on page 17. So we need you to turn to this page here and you can see on the page that we are dividing today. So yesterday we were multiplying, weren't we? And now we're going to turn to dividing. So this is going to be our learning for today. We've got section 1, section 2 and section 3 to work through. Now before we have a look at our learning question today, I did set you a challenge, didn't I? And it was to complete these 3 column multiplication questions. So well done for those children that sent them in. That was brilliant work from you, well done. Okay, so I'm going to just go through these and we're going to recap to get our brains into gear. Okay, so remember I did use 2 different colours, didn't I? Just to circle my 1s and my 10s, which numbers I was timesing together. Okay, so I've got here 6 and 3. And then I've got a different colour, let's go to blue. I've got 8 and 6. Okay, so I'm going to be doing my 6 times tables. So firstly what I need to do is do 6 times 3. So I've got 6, 12, 18. Okay, so I've got 2-digit numbers, so I'll put my 1 here and the 8 goes across here. So my next one that I need to do is 8 times 6. So 8 times 6, we know that that is 48, but because I've got my 1 over here, I need to add 1 on, so it's 49. Okay, so I do 4 and a 9 here. Okay, so the answer, we've got 83 multiplied by 6 is 498. Right then, so let's move on to our next one. So I'm going to get my red pen again and we're going to circle over for our 1s. So I've got my 1 and my 9. Swap colours, and I've got my 4 and my 9. Okay, so I've got 1 times 9. I know 1 times 9 is 9, and there's nothing to carry across because it's only a 1-digit number. And then I've got 4 times 9. 4 times 9 is 27. So I've got 2 and a 7, which is 279. So the number sentence is 41 multiplied by 9, and it gives us the answer of 279. Okay, so we're going to move on to our last one. I'm going to do this a bit slower because I want you to be thinking of your times table knowledge and quickly say it in your brain, okay? Right, so I've got my red pen. Okay, so I've got my 7 and my 4, so think about it already. What 2 numbers are you multiplying together? And then I've got my 6 and my 4. Okay, so first of all, 7 times 4. Think of it in your head. What is 7 times 4? So 7, 14, 21, 28. Okay, so 28, 2-digit number. 2 goes there and my 8 in the 1s column. Okay, moving on to my blue now. So I've got 4 times 6 or 6 times 4. So you've got 6, 12, 18, 24 comes next. However, I have carried over a 2, so it's 24 add 2. 24 add 2, quickly, can you say it in your head, is 26. Okay, so my answers are 67 multiplied by 4 equals 268, and hopefully you followed that along with me. Well done for the children that did get these answers and sent them in, so that was really good to see. Alright, so moving on to today's learning then. I just want us to have a look at the learning question before we move on, so we know exactly what the outcome of the lesson today is. Okay, so our learning question says, can I use inverse, and I'm going to highlight that, can I use inverse to solve division questions? Now when we say the inverse, it's using the opposite operation. So an operation is the symbols that we use. So we've got add, subtract, multiply and divide. Now I need to use the inverse of division. What's the opposite of divide? Well, I've got it behind me. It's to times, it's to multiply. So we've got division questions that we're going to work through today. However, we're going to be using the inverse, which means the opposite operation to what the question is asking us. And we can use that in tests just to find the quicker and most efficient method to use to get the answer. Okay, so we've got times tables that we use. Now sometimes we have our times table song, so you can sing, you can count in your head, or you could use 100 splat. So you could use your 100 square, which you can get online if you type in online 100 square, and you can have our splat game to splat it as well. Now for question 1 in your books, you've got a division table, which looks a little bit like this. Now I've changed some of mine, and that's only to get our brains thinking just a little bit deeper. So some of my numbers have changed to words. Okay, so it's going to have a numerical value, but we will need to read them as well. Okay, so I've got my division, so I'm going to divide two numbers together. So I've got 4 and 12, so I'm going to divide 4 and 12. Now remember, my learning question is to use the inverse operation. So instead of dividing, I'm going to be using times. So I could count how many 4s go into 12. So I could do 4, 8, 12. Okay, I'm going to stop there. How many groups of 4 went into 12? So I've got a 4, a 4 and a 4. So it was 4 times 3. Okay, so I've got my answer there, and I've used the inverse. I've used multiply. So I've used my times table knowledge to get the division answer. So let's think of another one. So I've got, let's go for 44. Okay, I'm going to divide it by 4. Now I'm going to see how many 4s go into 44. Now I'm not going to use the counting on method or the singing method because I've just shown an example of that. Let's have a look at using it on the 100 square. Okay, so I'm going to play the game. I've got 1 to 100, and you can see it can come up on any device that you're using as well. So I'm going to go and I'm going to highlight my 4s all the way to 44. Okay, oh, that's not the right one. And then our 2 times table on the 12, up to 12 on your multiplication grid, and we're going to be looking all the way up to 18. So we've got one set of 2. Let's get the right colour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I'm going to stop there because I've found 18 on my multiplication grid. And what did I need to multiply it by? How many sets of that 2 went all the way up to 18? Well, let's have a look on this column. And you can see there we've got the number 9, so it was 2. It was 9 lots of 2, which made 18. So let's go back onto our grid, our board for today. How many 2s went into 18? Well, we've just said that 9 times 2 was 18. So 9 lots of 2 went into 18. And that's using the inverse. You've used multiplication to solve a division question. Let's have a go at this one on the board. So we've got a different sort of vocabulary now. We've got to share. And it says share 30 between 10. Now I'm not going to use the interactive multiplication chart this time because we're quite secure with our 10 times tables, aren't we? So how many 10s would go into 30? So we've got 1 times 10 is 10, 2 times 10 is 20, 3 times 10 is 30, and I'm going to stop there because we needed to share 10 into share 30 between 10, and how many groups would I have? I'd have 3 equal groups of 10, and that would give me 30. So I've got my answer here is 3. Okay, so we've used word problems to calculate this as well. So looking at your vocabulary, if you're unsure of any of the vocabulary, then just flick back previously in the video where we discussed this. Okay then, so now I want to just scroll down, and these are now no longer word problems. These are full division number sentences, and you can see them there. Okay, so we've got 24 divided by 4, and I'm going to write down my number sentence in a multiplication so it makes sense for me to understand what I need to do for the inverse. So I've got 24 divided by 4, so go on to my multiplication grid. Now let's go and click back off these because we want 24 divided by 4. So you go down to your fours column and you're going to tap until, with a colour, until you get to 24. So I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So how many 4s went in? So I can scroll across here to find the number 6. So the number sentence would be 6 times 4 equals 24. And that would be my inverse. I'm going to write that down. So I've got 6 times 4 equals 24. Okay, and 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Okay, so the number facts do lend to each other when you are using the inverse. Let's try one more, and we've got 40 divided by 5. Let's move that over so you can see it better on the screen. Okay, I'll go back onto the pen. So now we need to work out what is the number sentence. 5 times what equals 40. Now you might already know that in your head, and you can perhaps not use the multiplication grid and use your knowledge as well, because we're quite secure with our 5s. So we're going to do our 5 times table up to 40. Now some of you might already know that, oh, we've forgotten our division sign. Let's take that across as well, just so our number sentence makes sense. Move our divide sign. There we go. Okay, so some of you might already know that there are 8 lots of 5 make 40. So my number sentence, if it was the inverse, let's do it in a different colour so it's easier to see, is 5 times 8 equals 40. Okay, and if I wanted to do how many 5s went into 40, I'd look at my multiplication number sentence. So how many groups of 5 made 40? Can you see where I'm pointing to on the screen? It was 5 lots of 8 which made 40. So how many lots of 5 make 40 is 8. So we can put our answer down there. Okay, so you've got different methods that you can do. We could either count on, you could sing with some of the times tables that we know, or you could use an interactive multiplication grid on your device. And like I say, to do that, you would just go onto your search engine for Google and put interactive multiplication square, and that one that I just used here was the first one on the search engine. And the website for that is called Maths Playground. So Maths Playground would be the one that you are looking for. Okay, so I have got a challenge for you, is that you could also do some times table splat as well. When you're finished, you can be using the interactive multiplication grid to splat down your numbers. So you can see my splats over here, and it might be that you want to challenge yourself with unfamiliar times tables. Quite a lot of you are not very secure with your 8s or your 7s, or even 6s, and that interactive multiplication grid, you can splat down and say out loud what it is. So 1 times 8 is 8, and you would splat it down as well. So your challenge, once you have finished today's work, is to have a go on the interactive multiplication chart and start having a look at the unfamiliar times tables that you're not aware of. Okay, make sure you send all of your work in today to the Year 4 email address, and I really am looking forward to marking your work. Good luck, everybody.